All right, everybody, welcome to episode 2 of How to Make a Movie When You Don't Know Shit. And today we welcome our guest, Johnny Williams, to the podcast. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. Thank you. Thank you for the invite.
Of course. Great to see you again. And, everybody who's watching this podcast needs to know, like, you have done so much great work. I mean, you worked with them all, Sean Penn, William H. Macy, John C. Reilly. I mean, you were in Goodfellas. I mean, iconic stuff. I mean, I love your scene in Goodfellas, one of my favorite moments. And spoiler alert if you haven't seen Goodfellas, but if you haven't watched Goodfellas, you're an idiot. So I just say
30 years. It's 30 years something years. I mean,
isn't that crazy? But that scene where you pull up in that pink Cadillac and De Niro comes, he kisses you, and just tell everybody a little bit about that experience.
It's funny that you brought that up. My friend calls me this morning. He says, guess what? He says, Roastbeef, you were on the what's his name show on Fox, Waters. He says, because when they were explaining that Como's Italian and he kisses everybody, they put the scene when you just mentioned that we're all kissing one another.
Isn't that great?
I missed it. I missed it, but my friends called me. They saw it on Waters program on Fox TV. So wow. it is an iconic scene. The death scene with Layla playing was also iconic because it was so memorable, and people kind of they felt sorry for me, even though I was, we stole the Lufthansa heist. We were in on that, but they liked me for that little moment when I walked in the bar and De Niro and they liked me, and so when they find me and my wife, Franny McGee, she passed away, by the way, terrific. Okay, I don't know what you got. What was the last thing I said?
You were just telling me about the scene with you and De Niro, and just that people were upset because they liked you.
Yeah,
and I heard the thing about Cuomo.
Yeah, so when Layla plays and they got the death scene, it was so memorable. The way Scorsese, I mean, he's a master filmmaker.
Right.
The way he set the shot up, having Layla play while the camera slowly pans from the children that were playing, from their point of view, the way he set the camera up to go up and the side of the car with the blood on the window, where in the old days they always left the sticker on the window.
Yeah.
In the old days,
Yeah.
And it was amazing. It was amazing. So memorable. I mean, it actually launched my career. Like you said, thank you for those kind words with the introduction. But the truth is, you know how many talented individuals are out there that don't get the opportunity? Yeah. I was very, very, very extremely fortunate. And to continue on what I did for 30 something years, it's amazing. It really is amazing. But I was very lucky. I'm the first guy to admit that,
Yeah, no, it is amazing. But I will say, and I've watched several of your roles, and obviously I worked with you, I mean, on our film. But the thing about what I think you bring that's really unique is that, you're playing tough guys and all that stuff, and you're in all these like mobbed up kind of movies, or you're playing a bad guy. I mean, even there was a clip I saw of you really, really early on in your career where you're playing a tough guy and Sean Penn, and they're like beating you up. But you bring a real, it's like a very humane quality. You're just in everything. You're just very likable. You're just like the kind of character where it's like, I want to go have a beer with this guy. I want to go like hang out at his house and meet his family. And that's that says a lot about your acting, because it means you bring more than maybe what's on the page. You bring something like that.
Well, the truth is the camera picks up the truth. It doesn't. You can't lie.
Right.
And what happens is the gift that I have that you can't learn in a school from a book or technique. The gift I have from up there.
Yeah.
That no matter how bad a dude I am, or no matter how bad, there's always something that the audience gets attracted to.
Yeah.
Like you said, have a beer with the guy, or you know, and everybody when they meet me in person, especially in the restaurant, when it's like they know me for 1,000 years.
Yeah.
And even though they know me through show business, if they saw me work and whatever, they feel like they know me, and
Yeah.
that's a gift. That's magic. That's a
It
gift.
is.
And for a guy like Scorsese to recognize that, where I was completely unpolished, totally, you know, I'm not. I was like a raw diamond that
Yeah.
was found, and for him to recognize that, it says a lot about his acumen and his look at things.
Yeah.
So again, it worked all around because it worked for him. And like I said, the scene is still being played in various situations. I'm in books. That scene is in books about De Niro. And
Wow.
you know, and it's terrific, you know. And then you know, like when they say, "Well, you're a character actor," or they pigeonhole you. I said, "Listen, whatever it is, I made a living for 30, 32, 33 years.
Yeah.
I'm fine with what I do as long as I
Yeah.
connect with the audience."
Yeah.
And even in our film, even in the film I did for you,
Mhm.
when I get the heart attack, people felt bad.
Yeah.
And, you know, they felt bad, and
Yeah.
I had to act that. I had to act getting that heart attack,
And that's
and
not easy.
you know, and even like the guys on the set, they 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 said, "Wow, this guy." So I mean, there is something there. There is
Definitely.
something there. So and
Definitely.
and to work with guys like Savino and Michael Rappaport and
Yeah.
Dave, rest in peace, my friend Dave. I can't believe it. We spoke so much personally because you know his he was so proud of being a Puerto Rican from New York, you know. And I grew up in Spanish Harlem when it was all Italian. So I
Yeah.
grew up with all the Puerto Ricans that were coming in. We used to fight them in gang wars, and yeah, and he was great, you know, because we could connect on that level. And then
Yeah.
when I even met his family, terrific.
Oh, Dave was
And,
a beautiful guy,
oh,
and just
yeah,
all heart and loved. You know, it's the kind of director you love to work with because he really loved actors, and he really
yeah,
allowed us to do what we do and bring. You know, I said this about Dave to to Kevin, and I said, you know what Dave did so masterfully was he cast, and this is what Scorsese does too. They cast the perfect people. Everybody in our film was so well cast that he could just sit back and let everybody do what they did, and everybody did it so well because that was what they brought. You know, it was like it wasn't, and nobody was stretching to try to
no.
play something they weren't. They were who they were. You know what I mean? And it let it go. And
I mean, I love the
tell
scene in the deli
yeah,
because we got to do our thing.
yeah,
Dave wouldn't stop us. He let us go, you know?
yeah,
And like, you know, a lot of that was improv, you know, with the
yeah.
walk and the exercise. And, yeah, well,
Oh, so funny,
it was
so
fun.
fun.
I walk here, you live around the corner. Yeah, but it's uphill.
No, I love that the relationship between you guys in the
Right.
deli. That scene, I love, and I love. I mean, we still quote lines that you say. You know, oh, it's hot in there. That
Yeah.
stinks. I don't want to go. You know, just all that stuff that you say about the gym and the Florida. You know, waiting for
Yeah.
your number. I mean, just iconic. But tell me, how did you get involved with Dave? Like, what did you guys? Did you know each other before this
No,
film or work
Dave,
together?
I think it was one of Dave's friends called me and said that he was doing a script read
Hmm.
of your film on Wilshire Boulevard.
Okay, so you were there for that because my dad was there
Yeah,
for
yeah.
that. Yeah.
I didn't read for Carmine. Actually, I read for another character,
Okay.
and then when Dave got ready to do the film, he called me and he said, "Johnny, I want to use you as Carmine." He said. I said, "Yeah, whatever you want. I'm there for you." I says, I enjoyed being with all the guys on Wilshire Boulevard. I enjoyed the script. You know,
Yeah.
I had no idea at what point he was at in actually getting the film rolling. in front of the camera, but I've done so many script reads because actors do favors. Actors always make themselves available to people because you never know. We're so giving. Whether you get anything in return, it doesn't matter.
We love to do what we do.
You get Zippo. But the thing is, you're generous with your talent, because I always say this, the responsibility of an actor or someone with a gift is not to have that gift, but to share it. So what happens is, in the business, it's so difficult to do that because the business gets in the middle of it.
Yeah.
The agents, the casting director, that. So there's so many obstacles for an actor to share his gift that when he gets a chance to read a script, but they count me in, I'm there.
Right. Anything.
You get a lot of turkeys in the middle, writing or whatever, but you still do it. And the process is always there to learn. The process of learning is always present when you put yourself available for it.
I love that. I mean, you have such a great attitude about it. And you're absolutely right. I think I saw the stage reading. The way I got involved was my dad would come out, we're from Jersey, but I was living in California and I was pursuing my career as an actor. And my dad would come out, and he had already done a film with Dave Push. They had done a film together. And he said, this guy I did a film with is doing a stage reading. And we joked. I had my dad on the podcast. We joked because I'm his chauffeur. My dad's like, you got to drive me. I got to be there at this time, Wilshire Boulevard, because my dad doesn't want to drive in LA. He hates it. So I drive him, and he said, and then you come back later and you watch it where they're going to do it in front of an audience. And I watched it. I brought he passed away as well, but my best friend, I used to call him my gay husband. He came with me, and we watched. Obviously, now it was you. It was, I think, PBV. It was my dad told me Kathy Narducci. I forgot some of the people that were in the stage reading.
Kathy Narducci was the one who brought it to Dave's attention and my attention. Because I mean, I'm much older than her, but I saw her grow up as a little girl. She's from home. She's from home. She's from
I didn't know that.
I love her to death. I mean, but great she's girl. An artist. She's that typical artist. I'm not. I'm a guy. I'm a regular guy. I happen to have a talent, but the artist in me. It took a long time for me to figure out that I am an artist.
Yeah, of course you're an artist.
And it took me a long time to face that.
Depends on how you grow up. You know what I mean? I mean, I grew up around that. So, but yeah, I think to call yourself an artist, that took me a long time too. I was just like, there's something about that you feel. I felt like I didn't earn it yet. You know what I mean? To call myself an artist, because I didn't come from, I don't have an MFA in acting, you know what I mean? That kind of stuff.
Let me ask you a question. Can you pinpoint exactly when that reality came to you? The artist in you?
It's funny. I think like, when you start working as an actor, you feel like, oh, okay, they see something in me. You know what I mean? That starts to feel good. But I think as far as being an artist, for me, I realized I was an artist the moment I wasn't doing it anymore, because I had left the business and I went behind the scenes and I was working on the other side. I became a manager and I was working on the other side. And the way my soul felt, the way I was dying inside because I wasn't doing art, that was the moment I realized I have to do this, whether I make any money, whether it goes anywhere, no matter what, because it's the only time I feel alive, I mean, on the set of our movie, whether I was watching the scenes or in the scenes, there's a life. You wake up every morning and you go, right? Like you want to go to set, even if you're not in, that day.
The breathing, when you don't act, even though you're around it, it's almost like you're suffocating inside.
Right. And no one can understand that if you're not a real artist. You don't get it.
I'll give you 2 minutes and that's the reason I asked you, because I came to grips with that. And I could pinpoint exactly when. And it was maybe 20 years into it. When I did my show, Mama and Son, I wrote a show, Mama and Son, based loosely on Rayo's, what happened, the Italian restaurant gets discovered.
Okay.
And I hired a girl to play my daughter. She actually looks like a lot like my daughter, but she's a
Uh-huh.
terrific actress. And she had that quality. She didn't speak like me, but she had the inner me. She
Mhm.
had that toughness. And when I hired her, I actually cast her myself because I had casting people, but to get this girl, I had to see maybe 60 actresses,
Wow.
all from high quality acting schools in LA. When I spotted her and I saw her resume that she did Circle in the Square in New York, I
Hmm.
knew. And I took her to dinner. I took her to dinner after I hired her because I wanted to have the relationship with her, the father
Right.
daughter.
Right.
And let me tell you something. You're not going to believe this, but after that dinner, when I walked her to her car, I says, "Now be careful when you're going home." Like I would tell my daughter,
Yeah.
that look, that feel, that project with that girl, her name is Annika Marks. She's got a very good career now. God bless her. I knew that I had transcended
Mm.
from
Wow.
working to being a true artist
Mm.
because I wasn't acting anymore.
Yes. It was just
The
in you.
feeling was real.
Yep.
And that was the key to my project. The anchor of the whole comedy, the sitcom, was the father and the daughter. The
Mm.
jokes
Yep.
are never going to work unless that's true, unless
Yes.
that relationship was real. All the other relationships will fall right into place.
Yep.
But that had to be the anchor. And that's when I
Wow.
came to grips with me, Johnny Roastbeef, the artist.
Wow, that's
That,
amazing.
yeah,
That's it. You're right. It was that specific moment where you just knew, and that's the stuff you can't teach, you know. And I think that was what struck me when I saw the stage reading. It's a beautiful story, by the way. I'm very touched by that. I love that. Um, when I saw the stage reading of this, I couldn't get out of my head that relationship of the father and daughter. Because again, too, I'm Italian. My father, obviously, come from Italian, but that relationship between, how the dad is going to come to terms with all these things he has to come to terms with when he gets out of jail. And so the way I got involved is funny because my dad was my dad's part. And then it was New Year's Eve. I told this story on the podcast yesterday, but it was New Year's Eve. I'll give a briefer version of it. New Year's Eve, I got nothing to do. I call up Dave. I go, "What are you doing for New Year's?" He's like, "We're going up to PBV's house, Paul Ben Victor, who you know very well." And he said, "We're having a party." So I went up there for the party. I had just started dating my boyfriend, Kevin, who I wound up marrying. And we were both in acting class together. And his brother had just started producing movies. Anyway, so he was putting money in and financing. Anyway, so I said to Dave, "Whatever happened to that script?" Because I could never get it out of my head. And of course, I would have loved to play the daughter role because that role was so
right.
iconic. So he said, "I just never got financing." And I said, "All right, well, let's get it financed. Like, let's figure it out. It's a great
Wow.
idea." And so I said, "Can I have the script and everything? I'm going to take it to Kevin's brother." Kevin's brother loved it without even knowing that Dave had Paul Sorvino, Michael Rappaport, all these names, right? He was already like, okay. And then he came in for half. Dave had financing, and we were like, that was it. We were off and running. And so Dave said, he had Renee in mind to play
Yeah.
the daughter, but he said you could play the wife and you play Michael Rappaport's wife. And I
Right.
was like, I'm in. I love Michael Rappaport.
Right.
And it was funny because I took it to my acting coach because, sometimes you get a part and I go, this is almost so me that I don't know what to do with it, right? Like, I'm sure you've had roles where you're like, I could do this in my sleep. And my acting teacher gave me great advice. He said, just take care of Michael. That's all you got to do in this film is take care of Michael. So there's a scene where Michael and I are in the kitchen together and I'm making him heating up macaroni or something. And I go and I get him a napkin. I put it next to him. And PBV pointed out to me, he's like, I loved when you did that. He said that gave me the whole relationship. But
That's correct.
sometimes, you just find those moments that happen at work,
Yeah.
and And when I read the deli scene right away, now I didn't come in as a producer. I became a producer while we were in New York. Because what
Yeah.
happened was Dave's guy fell out. My brother-in-law wound up coming in for the whole amount of the film. And he said to me and my husband, all right, you guys are eyes on this whole
Yeah.
project.
Right.
So I came in to just act, hang out in New York with my friends. And all of a sudden I was sort of thrown into this to this role, you know, and wanted to do a really good job, not only because I love this project so much, but for my brother-in-law. I wanted him to feel like this was
it was obvious
great.
that you were highly committed and you were also highly responsible. I saw that.
Thank you.
I saw how you cared about
I loved it.
everything. Yeah, I saw
And
that.
I will say, like, that deli scene went so well, and it was just such a testament to pros, just all pros, you and just the three of you in there together, Billy DePaulo and PBV and you. But the relationship was just there, you know. Like, I bought that you guys.
You could actually believe that we knew each other for 30 years.
Right away. And then what do you guys do for that? Like, I know you talked about wanting to have that relationship with a daughter and a, you know, sometimes it's natural, I imagine, but what
I do. I do.
What's your process?
I usually have scenes with a lot of guys. What I do is I break balls. I'm a natural ball breaker anyway. And I break balls and I find out like little idiosyncrasies about the guys.
Yeah.
It comes out, you know?
Yeah.
And once I know that, it's like a thread on a sweater. You start pulling it, and before you know it, you have, even though that relationship is only a couple of days, it's like you knew each other for 1,000 years. It's the gift. Again, it's the gift. I did a film with Armand Asante, Tommy Mason, Joe Gravassi, and we had this Tony Dennison. We had a singing group. We were one-hit wonders in the 50s, and now it's like the 90s, and we had to have this relationship. So we did 2 weeks of rehearsing and singing, and I got to know all the guys real good. And I started breaking balls, and before you know it, when we were in front of that camera, all of that reality came into play, just like you witnessed in the deli.
Yeah, it was there. It was just so there.
I had known Dave because I spoke to him many, many times. I know Dave. I knew the kind of guy he was and who he was going to put in the film because I could see the guys, right? You know, Paul Ben Victor, I had known. I met Dave, so I knew him. And Billy DePaulo, his wife was from Harlem. And his father
so you had that connection. You had that connection. Yeah.
And once you always have to like hook into something real to make that camera believe you, because you can't lie. And once we had all of that going, there you go. You witnessed it. We knew each other for 1,000 years.
It was so natural.
My balls about the exercise. And this and that, you know, and then I'm going to say, you know.
Yeah.
And so,
so natural.
It worked. It worked. And as actors, also, we know it worked because we were having fun. We were having genuine
You don't
fun.
feel it cameras. You just feel like you're in a scene.
It didn't matter if the camera was on or off or out in the street. We were having fun.
And that totally read.
That's why I'm here. Every day I walk from the house, I'm here. Exercise, you're right.
Come on, you live 2 minutes away.
There you go, breaking balls again.
I'm saying it's around the corner.
Hey, it's uphill, isn't it?
Oh, come on, you gotta do it 30, 40 times, then talk to me. You gotta, like, join a gym, do something like that.
Gym. You know, I went to the gym that time.
You got a membership, right?
I don't go anymore. I fell on the treadmill there. The thing was gone. I don't know. I ended up on the floor. They were calling ambulances. I just fell. I made a misstep. No, gym is... plus it stinks there. I can't take it.
So let's go back a little bit because I just want to get... So when did you get into acting? Like, and what was that? Were you high school? Did you always know?
No.
You had no idea.
Well, I was a married guy with 3 kids going through a very, very, very heartbreaking divorce. I had a deli. I was going out of my mind. I was opening up. Now you want to talk about doing something you hate to do, but you have to do it. I was going in my store 5 o'clock in the morning and getting the grill ready, the coffee and everything. I hated every minute of it.
Oh,
I hated every minute of it.
right.
And, people come in, you want to tell the person, why don't you just get the hell out of here? But what comes out of your mouth is, what can I get you? That's acting. That's acting.
You were preparing. You didn't even know. You were preparing for these roles.
So it just so happened that I was going out of my mind. This girl that was a school teacher, I had the hots for. She used to come in my deli, So she said, she talked me into going to the seminar or something. And I said, seminars for crazy people. She said, Johnny, listen to me. And it opened up this whole space, and it's too long of a story, but I made a little bit of a speech. I don't know why they elected me. I don't even know how to speak English properly. And people tapped into, they were laughing, and I was just trying to be serious. Like, I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm supposed to be talking to you. I got a deli. I go coffee in the morning. I don't know. And what happened was people said we would pay to see you. So it kind of planted a seed. And then, all right. So I went to an acting school in New York for commercials. And that was funny too. The only reason I got into that school was my friend set me up on a blind date. The girl was a speech teacher in the school. Joan C., the Three of Us studio. This is her instructors. And the girl was not for me, but beside the point. But I'm a gentleman. We went to dinner, and she said, Johnny, listen, you don't need any speech. You are what you are.
Yeah.
I don't know if she was trying to be nice to me or she was giving me the old zinger. But she says, but you should come to the school so that you're familiar with what you're doing. I says, well, I don't know what I'm doing. And she says, just come. And I ordered the school. That was funny, ordering the school. The guy said, what's your background? I said, wait a minute, you're the school. What's your background?
Yeah, I'm paying you. You better impress me. Why am I trying to? It's a good point. Schools do say that. What's your background? It's like, yeah, what's your background?
What's my background? What's your background? I asked him. So that's
funny.
Yeah. So and then when they were looking for gangsters and Goodfellas, Frankie Pellegrino, rest in peace. He told me, he said, Johnny, you going to the acting school? He said, go down there and go see. You met, what's her name? I didn't meet Ellen Lewis. I met Juliet Taylor. She says, you remember Juliet Taylor? She likes you at the bar. I says, yeah, I remember Juliet. She's in her office. Go down there.
Wow.
Street.
So was that your first? That was your first audition? First, like,
yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I go down there and Juliet, Ellen Lewis heard me talking to another guy in there because I said to the other guy, I don't know what I'm doing here. And the other guy said, what do you mean? I said, my friend sent me down here. I'm going to get thrown out of here. I know it. I can feel it. What am I? She come out. She goes, who are you? I says, told her. She says, I love the way you speak. She said, what? Wow. Again, they're talking about what's going on with the speech. And then she brought Marty down to Rayo's, but Nick Pileggi called me, and Nick said to me, he said, Johnny, make sure you're down the bar because Marty's going to pick a couple of guys. He's looking for gangsters. I says, oh, yeah, okay.
Wow.
He didn't know I had seen Ellen Lewis a couple of times.
The jury went in. Yeah.
So when she came down the bar with Marty, she looked at me and she said, Johnny, what are you doing here? I said, what am I doing here? So what are you doing here? I live up the block, I told her. So she went, you do? I said, yeah. So, and that's where Marty met me. And
wow. I didn't realize that was like your intro to this whole thing.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah. And where did Roastbeef come from? Where did that nickname come
I had
from?
the deli. So that's another story that I'd rather not say on camera anyway. But I had an incident with a wise guy, in the neighborhood, and he pissed me off. He made a roast beef in his club, and he wanted me to cut it for him. He brought it to my store across the street, piping hot. It was 4:30 in the afternoon. I closed at 5, and he wanted me to cut this 12 or 15-pound roast beef on my machine.
Wow.
And I told him, I said, are you out of your mind? Not only that, the guy was a cheap guy, never spent any money in my store, two cups of coffee, 45 cents. So anyway, he got mad at me, and I
Wow.
said, leave it, like, leave it, because he
Yeah.
was, what am I gonna do? Tell him no?
Yeah, right.
And so but every slice of that beef, I cursed his family, his mother, his father, his uncles, and I had blood all over the place. I cleaned it, did everything. He came in and I says, here's your roast beef. But it was like, here, go fuck yourself. I mean,
Yeah,
really.
yeah,
And
yeah.
he got the message. Don't be and he started, and then I was so pissed when I went to Rayo's drinking that night. My friends were all making fun of me because they're going, this guy Jimmy, this, that, and the other thing. So my friend Angelo, who's a real guy, he's gone
Yeah.
now. They told him, and he loved to tease me. He's like my uncle.
Yeah, yeah.
He goes, so what happened? What happened? Jimmy broke your ball. I says, Dad. He says, I kicked him in the ass before they made him a wise guy. I'll kick him in the ass again. So now, Bob banter over the Bob and serious stuff.
Oh
And
no.
yeah, Anslo, he was calling me, and he had the operation on the stroke. John,
Yeah.
John, I didn't hear him. So he went, hey, roast beef. And boom, stuck.
Wow. That's crazy.
I was
Because
like
that's like
1984, 85. Yeah.
I mean, I think it was even on the call sheet because before I even met you, I'm like, who's playing Carmine? Roast beef. I was, what's roast beef? But that's great. What a fun nickname, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, what a fun nickname. Stuck after all these years.
And Marty, when the character I played, his name was Lou, he changed it to my nickname, Johnny Roast Beef, because he liked it so much.
It's so great.
Warner Brothers sent me on the contract, sent me permission for them to use it in the movie.
Wow. You're like it's a trademark. I'm gonna need a lot of money to put that in that film. That's great. That's great. So what have you been doing now? Now, obviously, this movie, this podcast is called, How to Make a Movie When You Don't Know Shit, because
Right.
I got thrown in and but I mean, so much goes to Dave's credit because Dave knew what he was doing and Dave had a plan for this and everything else, but it was very like a lot of stuff was on the spot. I learned how to produce on the spot, and a lot of it was like just watching, just paying attention and watching. And one of the points that I really fought for was when Renee gets popped, by Lev. Lev is the actor, Lev Porn. When he pops her, and she gets a black eye, I put my foot down and I wanted her to really have a black eye when we go into that funeral. I think it's your funeral, right? Where we go at the Italian American Club to the funeral for you.
Gets into the beef with me.
Right. That's right. That's why that whole thing happens, and that he pops and she gets hit. But one of the things I fought for as a producer was to really blacken her eye because I'm an actor, I know storytelling, right? So I knew at the end of this film that Paul Sorvino was going to have to go back to killing people. And I felt like if he doesn't have a reason, and your daughter with the black eye, that's got to really land with the audience because, it has to be not justifiable, but there's got to be a reason, what I mean, for him to turn that dark. We get that monster's in him still, but that was one of the things, and that all happened in that iconic scene that you were in.
Yeah.
So
the audience has to root for you. The audience has to root for you so that the payoff has to be deep. If you're going to have a deep payoff, the crime has to be deep enough to get a payoff like that.
Exactly. And the fact that
your instincts were correct. So that you see, the producer not only creates the money, but you also your acting, your creative nature, kicked in to participate in what you felt, and that's important. That's important. It's instinctual. A lot of stuff is instinctual.
Yeah, and it was really on the spot. It was on the day of, and Renee hadn't really planned on her eye being very black, and because I had some sort of sense of control, I mean, I let a lot of things go. Yeah, okay, I'm with you on that. I agree with you. But this one, I was like, no. And it was interesting because Paul really backed me on that because he was like, I'm going to kill a guy. She's got to look like something really happened here, And so it was like everything had to stop and kind of, I'm like, we got to get makeup in. They got to blacken the eye more. Right. I mean, this is because,
I didn't know Renee that well.
Yeah, I didn't
But
either.
you want to know
Yeah.
something?
Mm.
When that scene in the deli, when I get the heart attack, she came over to me. Honest to God, she was affected by it. She,
Yeah.
she went, John, are
Yeah.
you okay? I said, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
She was affected by it.
Oh no, it was great. And I think, the thing that Renee I thought was so great at is, she's so her emotions are so accessible. And
Yeah,
so she really felt, and the scenes with her and Paul were just tremendous. But the thing is, like, whether you're Italian or not, anybody, any father, anybody hits a
correct,
father's daughter,
correct.
there's just no,
No,
is it
you're blind.
that
You're blind with rage. You're
right?
blind. You're
Right.
blind, and that goes
Yeah.
without saying.
Even if you're not a mob guy, you know what I mean?
Oh,
Guys, yeah, go to jail for over somebody doing something to their daughter. But especially this guy that had that kind of history for sure. But even one of the moments in that scene that I love is when Paul Sorvino walks in and your guys' reaction, how everybody's sort of like, oh, because he was known as being such an iconic person in that neighborhood. And it was just very real. You guys just had
Like,
really great
even
moments.
even the film, the underlying emotion in the film that built up is that this guy comes out of prison, and little by little, they're eroding every value that he ever had that he
Yeah.
went away for.
Yeah.
I mean, it just went lower and lower and
Yeah.
lower and lower. And then when it hits home with his own daughter,
Yeah.
with that relationship,
Yeah.
I mean, it's understandable how a guy could lose it.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Oh, for sure. It's just such a great story. It's such a great story. And
Yeah.
I'm going to bat for the film again too, because I just feel like this film needs to be somewhere where people can watch it, where people can stream it. I've watched so much stuff, especially in the pandemic. I've watched everything, right? So I'm constantly watching stuff on Netflix and Amazon and Hulu and all these
75%
places.
garbage.
Yeah, I'm like, first of all, the script is terrible, some of it, and the acting is, and these are, I mean, we've got such great acting in this movie. It just needs to be seen. It needs to be out there and be seen. So that's part of the reason I'm doing the podcast, because I'm bringing some attention to it and going to try to get it somewhere where people can see it. Because everybody that did go to see it, especially my friends were like, you kind of undersold this. This was, my one girlfriend was like crying. She was like, so touching, and people really loved it when they saw it, just not enough people saw it. I think that was the major
I
thing.
understand that, but it's like I did a film called Looking for an Echo with Armand, with singers, and they undersold that movie also.
Where is it? Can people see that? Can you watch that somewhere?
I don't even know if you could see it.
Because even when you told me the plot, I was like, that's a movie I'd want to watch. People that were in a singing group years ago, and it's like, 20, 30 years later.
And they showed it in Florida. I mean, years ago, we did it in the 90s. They showed it in Florida. They got standing ovation in the theater.
Yeah.
In the movie house.
Yeah.
And yet, it's like our film, it just didn't get that overall attention.
That's the hardest thing. That's the hardest thing when you're an actor and you put in good work on something.
That's where the real gamble is in the distribution. That's where you have to put up serious money and you could lose it.
Yep.
That's why a lot of times you get films like our film that they have to pull back. Either they don't have the funding or they don't want to gamble the fund. Yeah,
because then the money, after you make the movie, and we made this movie, in 18 days. We did 3 weeks of 6-day work weeks and banged it out, which is insane that we did a full-length feature film in that, right? But then after that, you're right. Then it's about the publicity, and that's another chunk of money, you know what I mean, that you have to put in, because if nobody knows, nobody knows. And that's why sometimes you see movies, you go, this movie's not that good. But yet it went to the theaters, and that's because they have that back end money. And that's, again, as a producer, I learned that, I didn't know what I was doing.
But remember, it's also a rolling expense, because
Yes.
You got the movie, you distribute it, then all of a sudden now you're getting a pretty good feedback on it. Now you got to double the money and wider distribution.
Yes.
So now you're in for 3 million. Now the next time you're in for 7 million. Then the next week you're in for 14 or 15 million. Now this is money that you're not guaranteed to get back because you got 50% to the exhibitors, and then the advertising takes another 10-15%. So you're looking at serious money, and a lot of guys. I know a little bit about it too. A lot of guys, they go, you know what? We're gonna have to hold the line here, and then the movie gets forgotten about.
Yeah, that's exactly what happens.
They go, you got to get like you got to do the Netflix, you got to do the Hulu, the Amazon. These are the guys with serious money. You realize the money Netflix has. Their stock is like $300 some $400 a share. They're a public company. They got serious dough. So those are the ones that and they're the ones making the crap because the Irishman, that movie stunk. It was 3.5 hours long, and they spent $190 million. There's no gangster movie ever. If you accumulate all of them, you wouldn't come up with $190 million.
Right, it's a lot of money.
So the thing is, you got to do the game. This is the new game now. This is the new game in town. I got Mama and Son, my production that I did, my sitcom. I got that pilot. I'm going to have a podcast in September, and I'm going to push to sell that because it's a good show.
Yeah, that's great. Well, the good news is that they need a lot of content. They do need content. So. And there's and now I think, unfortunately, I mean, I love going to the theater, but now more and more people are not going to the theater. More and more people are staying at home. So that's why the content's got to keep going. So is that what's up for you next? What are you working on? Is there anything you want
I got the podcast,
talk about, promote?
What's the Beef?
Right. Oh, great title.
It's about life as it was, life as it is, and meatballs. That's
I love it. I love it.
And I'm going to have guests. I'll have you on the show. I'll
love it.
Guests. I'm going to have a lot of nice people as guests that really have something to say.
Great.
And it should be funny. Not political or anything, but it should be funny.
Yeah. No, I love it. I love it.
And other than that, I mean, the business is just insane. It's just insane.
Yeah. It's crazy.
The kids want to know how many eyeballs on YouTube you have. I tell them I don't even know how to get on YouTube. It's like I might as well have lived in a cave for the past 30 years with a flashlight because that's what's going on. I got these embryos coming in the restaurant, and who's worth so much money because they got 20 million. Followers on
TikTok
Instagram and TikTok and
what restaurant? You working at a restaurant?
Rails.
Oh, okay. Oh, you're still there. Okay, great. Great. I gotta come down.
You've got to come down anytime.
I'll definitely come down.
It's the same Rails is in New York.
I love it.
You can't get in New York.
Can't get in, right?
What else you can get in?
Well, I love to eat, so that's They closed Aggo. We went to Aggo one time, a couple of times.
Somebody took that spot, but they didn't open yet.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, it's always a pleasure. You don't have to worry about anything because you just be you and do you and you're gonna work. That's it. That's what you've always done. That's your magic.
That's it.
You don't have to be something you're not. Just be who you are.
No.
And the next role